Welcome to the screencast on adding integers. Let's start with 4 cases that we might write into. Adding a positive with a positive, adding a negative with a negative, and then a mixed case where I have a positive plus a negative, or maybe a negative plus a positive. I'm going to start with those top 2 cases because I think they're a little bit simpler. Let's take some small numbers, 1 plus 4. Nothing too crazy there, but I want to show you these toys that I have. I'm going to take one positive object, I'm going to add it to 4 positive objects. No surprise, I've got a total of 5 positive objects. You can also visualize this on a number line. If I sketch my number line, this problem is telling me to start at 0, take 1 jump to the number 1, and take 4 more positive jumps to the number 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. We can model adding 2 negatives similarly. We'll try -3 plus -1. Instead of using the yellow side to represent positive, I'm going to use the red side of this piece to represent negative. So if I start with 3 negative objects and I add 1 negative object, there are a total of 4 negative objects. To visualize this on a number line, this problem is telling us to start at 0, jump back 3 spaces in the negative direction, that would go this way, to -3, and we're going to jump back 1 more space in the negative direction, which is going to take us all the way to -4. Now, in these 2 cases, the order doesn't so much matter. What really matters is which number has the larger absolute value. We'll talk about what that means. Let's take 3 plus -5. -5 has the larger absolute value because there's going to be more of them. So let's take 3 positive objects. To that we're going to add 5 negative objects. And what's really crucial here is to understand how positives and negatives interact. If I ever have a positive and negative that pair up, they make 0. I'm going to call those 0 pairs. So if this is worth 0, and this is worth 0, and this is worth 0, I've got 2 negative objects left over. We have 2 negative objects and no positive objects because there were more negative objects to start with, because -5 has the greater absolute value. If we want to picture that on a number line, what this problem is telling me to do, start at 0, jump 3 spaces in the positive direction. It's going to take me to +3. From 3, I'm going to jump 5 spaces in the negative direction. So that's going to take me back to 0 and then 2 more spaces to the left, which is -2. Looking at an example where the absolute values change, we're going to take 6 plus -2. What I mean by change is now the positive number has the greater absolute value. You might be able to guess what happens next. We start with 6 positive objects. To that we add 2 negative objects. I'm going to scoot those up. And we have 2 0 pairs. Positive and negative make 0, so I have a total of 4 positive objects left. The reason we had 4 positive objects and no negative objects is because there were more positives that had the larger absolute value. If we want to picture that on a number line, this problem is telling me to start at 0, jump 6 spaces in the positive direction, which takes us to +6, and then we are going to, from 6, we're going to jump 2 spaces to the left, which is our negative direction, taking us back to +4. Now, last piece. What happens when the numbers we're working with are so small or so big that it's not convenient to use these pieces or draw these number lines? Well, notice what we did here and here. We got more positives and we got more negatives, so it's basically addition. Keep an eye on the signs. So if I take a problem like 37 plus 54, works the same as it always has. I'm just going to add those together. I think that gives me 91 positives. I'll let you double check that. Take an example where we're adding up 2 negatives, like a lot of them. -103 plus -82. If we can imagine our red pieces, I'm going to have 103 red pieces and then 82 red pieces. That's a total of 185 red pieces. So that's -185 if every red piece was a negative. Alternatively, you could think of that as one big jump 103 spaces to the left, another big jump 82 spaces to the left, which is going to take us to negative 85. Similarly here, if I take, let's say, negative 97 plus 101, I'm noticing right away that there's 4 more positives than negatives, which means I'm going to have positive 4 after all my 0 pairs drop out. One last example. Let's take negative 54 plus 30. Right away I notice 24 more negatives than positives, which is going to leave us with negative 24 as our sum. This has been the screencast on adding integers. Thanks for watching.